dictator of Tomia, the conqueror of Austerlitz, the future emperor of the world.
Kathleen Staples says she wishes she could have been there to protect her 22-year-old son, Devin, on the night of the 4th of July. So Kathleen Staples, Devin Staples' mother, felt like that she should protect him. 22-year-old Devin Staples on the 4th of July. Devin Staples had been drinking with his friends Saturday evening and setting off fireworks. So, right there, it appears there's a slight problem there, because you have the drinking and you have the explosives. I'm not a drinking man. I believe you can probably count on maybe two hands the amount of drinks that I have had in my lifetime. You might need to add a toe or a foot, but I am knowledgeable enough to know that explosives and adult beverages do not go well together. It just seems like that would be a common knowledge type of thing. But Kathleen Staples knew, or she wishes, that she could have been there to protect her 22-year-old son, Devin. Because Devin had been drinking with his friends Saturday evening, the 4th of July, and setting off fireworks when Maine State Police say he... What could he have possibly done? What could he have possibly done? I mean, surely it was just a few drinks, and he, could not have gone that crazy. Surely he would have known. But he had been drinking with his friends Saturday evening when Maine police say he put a mortar on his head and lit it. It exploded, killing Devin instantly. But Kathleen says her son would never have placed the firecracker on his head if he thought it was a live explosive. That would have been suicide, she says. I can't see a happy boy wanting to destroy himself. He believed it was a dud. He stuck it over his head, and he was goofing off. Kathleen admits her son had been drinking. She hopes his death serves as a reminder that alcohol and fireworks just don't mix. I believe that is a good, maybe a good reminder. So did you have a nice 4th of July? We certainly did. We went to a friend's house, and we had ribs like there was no tomorrow. And but the weekend went downhill from there. Because it started, I guess around noon on Sunday. No, about 2 o'clock on Sunday. I had just taken my Sunday afternoon nap. And I woke up to, it sounded like sirens. And I looked out the window, and there were, across the street, there were 2 fire engines, an ambulance, a police car, and just complete insanity. They were obviously in a hurry to do something. And I saw them rushing into the house, and I saw them carrying all their medical equipment inside there, and they were in a rush. Something bad was going on. And sure enough, I saw a few moments later, I saw them carrying out a man on a gurney. And he was obviously unconscious. Because I will not get, I can't get it out of my head There is something about seeing a human body moving around uncontrollably, as in if there's a bump and his body jolts to the bump or whatever. He wasn't spazzing, but his head was moving around back and forth because there was no life there. And they were doing chest compressions on him, and they were obviously rushing him to the ambulance to get him to the hospital. And so it was a horrific thing to see. My daughter and I were out there watching the thing because these are the neighbors I was talking about recently, where their children are crazy. And these are the same children that I spoke with a few weeks ago, and I offered them peace. I offered them kind of a peace treaty, and we've been friendly ever since. And so I went over there to see if there was anything I can do, and I talked to the father, and this is the same dad who I mentioned before. My personal opinion, is that he is not giving his children the discipline they need. He's been in and out of jail a few times. And so he's just not doing what he's supposed to be doing as a father. But as a Christian, as a man of God, I still love him, and I do love. And I don't say as a Christian I love him. No, I do love him. I hardly know him, but I do love him. And I went over there and I asked if everything was okay, and he told me that he does not think so. It was his stepfather who they were bringing out. And he knew right then and there that his stepdad was gone. It was he himself who was trying to do CPR on him inside the house. They found him in a bathroom. A little girl found him in the bathroom, collapsed over in the bathroom. And they pulled him out, tried to do chest compressions. 911 came, and it was a horrific thing, because then relatives started showing up, and when reality hit them, what had happened, it was hard to watch. There was one lady who it's a Spanish Hispanic family, and there was one lady who got there who was telling the children, everything's okay. He just went to the hospital. He's just passed out. Everything's okay. She didn't know. The dad, my friend, said to her, it's not good. And it hit her finally. Then she started weeping, and she broke down. She actually collapsed, and she was crying out over and over, Tio, where's my Tio? Where's my Tio? And eventually she passed out. And so I was over there trying to help with this chaos. I was trying to help lift her up, trying to revive her. And over, she just kept asking, where's Tio? Where's Tio? Where's Tio? And it was a horrible situation. Not good. Very sad. And I found out this morning that he actually did die. So it was very sad. Very sad. And I would have found out last night because the father was coming over to talk to me, but he found my daughter instead, and my daughter told him that I was not available because I was sick, which is true. This is the second part of my day. The first part started off witnessing that horrific incident, watching a grown man being pulled out of a house lifeless on a gurney, put into an ambulance, watching people weep and cry and collapse and pass out. Watching all that was horrific in itself. But last night was also the night that we decided we were going to celebrate. We didn't get a chance to celebrate Father's Day on Father's Day. We weren't able to have a Father's Day dinner, so we decided that we would do it last night. And so we already went through all the stuff with our neighbor, and we said our prayers with them and prayed with them and all that, and then we decided, a couple hours later, we would go ahead and go to dinner. And the day before, we had ribs. Oh, unbelievable ribs! Very delicious, very rip off the bone, melt off the bone, very good ribs. And so I didn't want to have ribs the next day because I didn't want to overdo it. And so I decided, hey, let's go to, there's a substation, a Subway, a sub sandwich shop close to where I work called Penn Station Sub. And they make awesome subs. It's a very interesting sandwich place, because usually sandwich places offer you a sandwich and chips and a drink. This place, they give you fries. They don't have chips. They do fries. And they're delicious fries. They're right off the potato, right out of the potatoes, hoo-ha, I guess if they have hoo-has. But they literally cut the potatoes there, cook them there, and serve them to you there. So we go there, and I order my sandwich. I want the Italian sandwich, toasted, and I don't want mayonnaise on it because, folks, if you remember, I am allergic to eggs. So I kindly asked to have my sandwich without mayo, and they make the sandwich and with the white cheese, and I took a bite, and instantly I realized that there is mayo on here. I checked, but because the white cheese melted, it was creamy, and so it mixed with the mayo, and so I couldn't really tell. So I had one bite of my sandwich. One bite was all it needed. Was all it needed. And for the rest of the night, I was out for the count. But I really did think. There were moments last night when this happened where I actually believed that I was dying. Years ago, I had an allergist specialist tell me that each reaction from this point on will get worse and worse and worse. Because in the past, it would be, some stomach pains, maybe a little bit of a rash. But over the years, every reaction that I've had has progressively gotten worse. And last night was the worst reaction I've ever had. First of all, my breathing became very labored. I was fighting for every breath. And at some point, my heart rate just exploded. It was just, my heart was beating literally out of my chest. I really felt like I was dying. And, there were several moments where I felt like I was going to lose consciousness. And so I was really scared. Especially after what I saw earlier in the day, I just, in my mind, I assumed that was going to be me. And I thought of my children, and I thought of my wife, and I thought, what would happen if it did happen? How would they react? I mean, I know my children would be devastated. I know my wife would be devastated. But it's hard to even think about what that means. To die. I mean, because I can't imagine what this world would be like, literally what this world would be like if I wasn't here. Because we all live in our own individual universe. None of us have any idea what this world would be like without us in it. Because it is ourselves. We are what we know. We don't know anything outside of ourselves. And that's just the nature of life. That's the nature of humanity. We can't see anything outside of ourselves. But what would it be like to die? And so I've had all these thoughts in my mind of what that means. And I started thinking of, what I could say. And one thing that I feel like I'm obligated to say is to ask if at any moment, any dumb thing could happen. I mean, for me, it was just putting on, innocently, putting on mayonnaise on a sandwich. And, maybe I wasn't close to dying, but to me, it felt like I was. Maybe it could be that innocent. My brother, years ago, stopped breathing completely when he ate something that had peanuts in it. He's very allergic to peanuts. And he ate something with peanuts in it, and his throat closed, and he lost consciousness. And so it was something innocent like that, where he just grabbed something that it was a Rice Krispie treat, but it happened to be a peanut butter Rice Krispie treat. And he could have died. He didn't go to this event. It was a banquet. He didn't go to this banquet intending, with any knowledge whatsoever, that he would eat something and then he would die because of it. That was the furthest thing from his mind, because just like all of us, we're all invincible. Every single one of us. Nothing can harm us. Nothing will harm us. Because we can't envision what it would be like for something to harm us like that. But death is a reality. It's a reality that all of us someday will face. And I look back over my high school days, and I'm shocked when I find out that somebody in my class died. Just recently, I found out one of the girls from my class, she died. Same age as me. She flew to Texas to have some kind of test on her heart, and it turned out she had some kind of tumor or something on there, and she had surgery, and she didn't make it through the surgery. She didn't think she would die. She thought she would go to the surgery, and she thought she would get out and she would be okay. But it's a reality that we all have to face. And it's a reality that we all will face sooner or later. And so I have to ask the question, is it something you're ready for? None of us are ready for it. But if your time were to come tomorrow on your way to work, someone driving drunk on the wrong side of the interstate, which this happened recently here in my city. Someone driving drunk on the wrong side of the interstate slammed into a car, killing an entire family. Or will you be walking in a park, and this happened yesterday, and the big political thing about it is the person who did this incident was an illegal alien who had been arrested 5 other times and released every single time. And he was back in California, a sanctuary city, where they do not send undocumented migrants back home. They let them free. And he pulled out a gun and he shot a woman in front of her father, just point blank. No reason why. Didn't even know her. Just killed her right there. She wasn't ready for that. That is not how she envisioned her day. But was she ready? It's hard to even know what questions need to be asked. Because the term that we hear all the time is, are you saved or are you lost? Now, what does that mean exactly? What does it mean when someone says you're lost? Well, we have this idea that lost means something about God laughing at us and throwing the lost people into hell. Well, in this book, Renovation of the Heart, a book that I've mentioned before, he talks about what it means to be lost. And I want you to listen with an open mind. Because I think this is stuff that we all need to hear. And I'm not trying to preach at anybody. I'm not turning this into a sermon. I want you to genuinely think about this, because this is something we all will face. Are you saved or are you lost? And think of lost in this term, in this terminology. He says this: considerable confusion on this topic of being lost, has resulted from trying to think of being lost in terms of its outcome. Theologically, the outcome is hell. So what he's saying is the outcome, if you are lost, if you're not saved, if God does not own your soul, the outcome is, sadly, hell. Certainly, if you are lost in any sense, there is little likelihood of your arriving where you want to be. But the condition of lostness is not the same as the outcome to which it leads. We're not lost because we're going to wind up in the wrong place. We're going to wind up in the wrong place because we are lost. To be lost means to be out of place, to be omitted. The term often used in the New Testament for the place of the lost is Gehenna. They may usefully be thought of as the cosmic dump for the irretrievably useless. That is the place. Gehenna is the place described in the New Testament as the place that lost will go. So think of what it means. Think of what it would mean to find you have become irretrievably useless. Think of what it would mean to find out that you have become irretrievably useless. Something that is lost is something that is not where it is supposed to be, and therefore it is not integrated into the life of the one to whom it belongs to and to whom it is lost. Think of what it means when the keys to your house or car are lost. They are useless to you, no matter how much you need them and desire to have them, and no matter what fine keys they may be. And when we are lost to God, we are not where we are supposed to be in this world, and hence are not caught up into His life. We are not partakers of the divine nature. I have not escaped the corruption that is in the world through lust. We are our own God, and our God doesn't amount to much. So when we are lost to God, we are also lost to ourselves. We do not know where we are or how to get where we're going. We may know we are lost, or we may not. Many a driver is lost long before he knows he is, though rarely before his wife knows it. Many are lost before God, but do not know it. They sincerely believe that they know where they are going, and how to get there, but in fact they do not. And they often find out too late. Disorientation to moral, personal, and divine reality, as well as to the physical, sometimes lead us across lines that cannot be recrossed. This is a part of the tragic meaning of human time and action. So it is my belief that God doesn't throw us to hell because He hates us or because He is angry with us. My belief has always been that if someone goes to hell, to Gehenna, to the place of the irretrievably useless, it is because they chose to go there themselves, without, subconsciously or consciously. They created a life in themselves that is irretrievably useless to anybody. They have blocked God out of their life. They have said to themselves and others, I do not need God. I do not want God. And so they have become irretrievably useless. And according to Scripture, and I can only say based on Scripture, I believe the Scripture is truth. I believe people who do not claim God's name have become irretrievably useless. They have said, I do not want you around me, God. I want you away from me. And so even in the end times, God as a gentleman will say, I will allow that. And he will allow you to go where you directed your life to go in the first place. To Gehenna, the place of the irretrievably useless. And that is a horrible thing to even think about. I cringe whenever I hear somebody say something like, I would rather go to hell than be with God. I cringe at that. Because I guarantee you that is not a place that you want to be. There is a lot of pain. There is a lot of torture. There are a lot of horrible things that happen in this world. But I guarantee you, the fact that God is here is one of the reasons why we are able to tolerate it, that we are able to get through it. If my neighbor's family member, if my neighbor's stepfather died and God is not here, they would never get through it. Because there would just be the constant reminder of how bad this world is. God has some way of showing goodness even through the worst of times. And so if your keys are lost, you can't use them. They are no use to you. You want them. You would love to have your keys with you because you can use your keys. You need your keys to do what you need to do for the day. But if they are lost and they are of no use or value to you, lost. And I think that's what that writer is saying. If you have chosen to become lost, and it is a choice, it is a choice. If you have chosen that lost, if you have chosen that life, you are of no value. I'm sorry. You are of value. But you are of no use to God. He cannot use something that is lost. He cannot use something that is not in the place it needs to be or should be. So I say all this because my life, my weekend, has been filled with thoughts of what I should say about all this. Why did I see all this? Why did any of this happen to me this weekend? And I think I have a responsibility to ask you, if that was you being pulled out of that house on a gurney, would you be confident to say, my soul, my life is exactly where it's supposed to be? It is not lost. I have chosen a life that is not lost. Can you say that? I know with confidence in my life that I can say that. I have made mistakes in my life, and some of my mistakes have had huge consequences on my life. But I have allowed myself to be in a place where God, I allow God's forgiveness in my life. And when God puts opportunities in my life to help others like he did yesterday, God can use me. But if you're not open to that, he can't use you and he won't use you. And in the end times, when your life is over, what is the outcome? What has your life been building up to? So I'm done here. But I want you to consider those things. If you are in any way in doubt of any of these things, I will gladly and I will love to have a talk with you. You can leave me a private voicemail, 707-874-TROY. That's the official Troy Show voicemail. And we can do a private conversation, or we can do one as one of the next shows. I would love to have you on the show. But I want you to consider this. What does tomorrow hold, because it's not promised? But life is promised to those who seek after God. So I pray for you right now, and I pray that you are ready when the time comes. And so until we meet again,